July 11th. Just another hot summer day, right? Wrong. This day has been packed tighter than Rudy Giuliani's hair dye tubes in a courtroom. It's like the universe looked at the calendar and said, hey, let's put all our weird, historic, and devastating stuff right here. From duels that decided political futures to catastrophic space junk re-entries. And even a World Cup final that somehow made both soccer and social inequality trend at the same time. Today, we dive into what makes July 11th the chaotic middle child of historical dates. Segment 1, the Burr-Hamilton duel, America's first political roast battle. On July 11th, 1804, Vice President Aaron Burr shot and fatally wounded Alexander Hamilton in a duel. That's right, folks. Our founding fathers handled political beef not with tweets or subpoenas, but by standing in a field and shooting at each other like testosterone-filled Renaissance fair rejects. Hamilton, ever the drama king, reportedly threw away his shot. Yes, musical fans, he literally did that. And Burr was left to explain why the guy on our $10 bill now had a bullet in him. Burr was never tried, but his political career tanked harder than a MySpace stock. Turns out killing a founding father is bad PR, even in the 1800s. This wasn't just a personal vendetta. It was the moment American politics showed us that the concept of honor used to override common sense, and apparently bulletproof vests. You know, the good old days. Segment 2, British evacuation of Savannah, Georgia. Fast forward to July 11th, 1782. British troops decided, you know what, Georgia's too hot and too rebellious, and evacuated Savannah. Royal Governor James Wright skedaddled to Charleston, and America got one step closer to owning the entire real estate portfolio of the East Coast. This wasn't a sexy battle. There were no dramatic cannonballs or patriotic speeches, just the quiet sound of British boots retreating and revolutionaries slowly starting to party. It's like the Revolutionary War's version of a breakup text. Short, inevitable, and a relief to everyone involved. Segment 3, Union victory at the Battle of Rich Mountain. In 1861, Union troops beat Confederates at the Battle of Rich Mountain in Western Virginia. And just like that, a huge slice of Virginia said, you know what? We're going to do our own thing. Enter West Virginia, America's most successful political rebrand. This was early in the Civil War, when both sides were still figuring out if this was going to be a short vacation or a long-term breakup. McClellan got a rare win before becoming the Civil War's human embodiment of almost did something cool. Segment 4, the Niagara Movement, early civil rights goes hardcore. In 1905, W.E.B. Du Bois and William Monroe Trotter kicked off the Niagara Movement. Think of it as the punk rock version of the civil rights movement before MLK's peaceful protest dropped the acoustic album. They wanted full rights now, not a decade later. They weren't trying to make friends, they were trying to make change. Sure, it fizzled by 1910, but not before laying the intellectual smackdown that led to the NAACP. It's like if your garage band didn't get famous, but your fan base started the Beatles. Segment 5, Babe Ruth's Big Day. On this day in 1914, a young guy named George Herman Ruth took the mound for the Boston Red Sox. Later known as Babe Ruth, he would go on to become baseball's biggest name, biggest gut, and the guy who basically made hot dogs a performance-enhancing drug. Even crazier, on July 11th, 1934, exactly 20 years later, he hit his 700th home run. Same date, different baseball bat magic. July 11 is basically Babe Ruth's personal holiday. Somewhere, the hot dog gods are smiling. Segment 6, William Howard Taft sworn in as Chief Justice. In 1921, former President William Howard Taft got a promotion, or a demotion depending on how you look at it, when he became Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. He's still the only guy to ever run both the executive and judicial branches. That's like being both the quarterback and the referee in the same game. Taft was a big man, literally and figuratively. He redefined work-life balance by showing you can leave the presidency and still rule the country, just quieter and in a robe. Segment 7, Harper Lee's To Kill a Mockingbird published. 1960, Harper Lee drops To Kill a Mockingbird, and it hits the U.S. like a moral grenade. It had everything: racism, innocence, and a dad so righteous he made all other dads look like couch potatoes in comparison. The book became a literary backbone of civil rights education. Plus, it gave white America a socially acceptable way to say, hey, I think racism is bad, without going full activist. Still widely taught, quoted, and occasionally banned by school boards who clearly didn't read past Chapter 1. Segment 8, Telstar 1 sends TV across the Atlantic. In 1962, Telstar 1 made history by bouncing television across the Atlantic. Suddenly, you could watch a man in New York say boring things in real time in France. This paved the way for satellite TV, international news, and eventually endless reruns of Friends in every hotel lobby from Tokyo to Timbuktu. It also marked the beginning of the end of local embarrassment. Now your dumb moment could go viral worldwide. Thanks, Telstar. Segment 9, Skylab comes crashing down. 1979. America's first space station made an unexpected guest appearance in the Australian outback. Pieces of Skylab fell to Earth, thankfully hurting no one except NASA's credibility. Australians turned it into a party. Americans turned it into a punchline. NASA turned it into a lesson. Space junk falls fast, and PR falls faster. One teenager collected debris and got $10,000, proving once again that sometimes the best investment is being near government failure. Segment 10, 5 billion people on Earth. In 1987, we hit 5 billion humans. That's 5 billion people, all with opinions, elbows on airplane armrests, and hot takes on pineapple pizza. The UN responded by creating World Population Day, a reminder that maybe, just maybe, we should talk about condoms and sustainability more often. The milestone wasn't just a big number, it reshaped global discourse. We moved from, oh no, too many people, to, oh no, too many people consuming like Americans. You know you've leveled up when your ecological footprint needs its own zip code. Segment 11, the Rainbow Warrior sinking. 1985, Auckland Harbor. The Greenpeace ship Rainbow Warrior was blown up by French agents. Yep, the baguette-waving, Eiffel Tower-building French government bombed an environmental protest ship. Talk about overkill. One activist died. The scandal forced France to admit guilt, pay reparations, and apologize. The event turned Greenpeace into a global symbol and gave us the ultimate example of how not to do international diplomacy. France learned that environmentalists have better PR than spies. Segment 12, Boris Yeltsin elected, 1991. Boris Yeltsin became Russia's first elected president. With his election came a suitcase full of capitalism, economic shock therapy, and please ignore the economic collapse. He helped dissolve the USSR, privatize everything, and give birth to the Russian oligarch starter pack. Yeltsin was democracy with a hangover, chaotic, occasionally inspiring, and often confusing. He brought reform, vodka-fueled speeches, and a market crash that made Wall Street look like a lemonade stand. Segment 13, the Srebrenica massacre begins. 1995, Srebrenica. Over 8,000 Bosniak men and boys were murdered by Bosnian Serb forces. The UN's peacekeepers did what they do best. Nothing. It was Europe's worst massacre since World War II. This wasn't just a horrific genocide. It was a masterclass in international failure. The peacekeepers were outgunned, under orders to stand down, and effectively served as witnesses to war crimes. The legacy? An enduring scar on human rights, and a cautionary tale that peacekeeping without teeth is just sightseeing in uniform. Segment 14, Mumbai train bombings. 2006, Mumbai, India. 7 bombs on commuter trains, nearly 200 dead, hundreds injured. Coordinated terror attacks during rush hour. The tragedy strained India-Pakistan relations, revealed gaps in intelligence, and showed that no matter how busy your day is, terrorism doesn't care. It highlighted the terrifying ease with which urban transit systems can become targets and became a grim reminder of how security lapses can cascade into national trauma. Segment 15, Spain wins the World Cup 2010. Spain beat the Netherlands in South Africa's World Cup final. It was historic, the first World Cup held on African soil. It was supposed to unify and uplift, and it did. Kind of. On the surface, joy, pride, K-Nako vibes, but underneath, poverty, xenophobia, and debt-financed stadiums that now host tumbleweeds and regret. FIFA made bank, South Africans got a bill. So there you have it, July 11th, the date that contains multitudes. It gave us sports legends and political tragedies, satellites and space debris, literary classics, and literal genocide. It reminds us that history isn't clean or convenient. It's a messy, complex mix of progress, failure, and the occasional exploding train car. And on this chaotic tapestry of time, July 11th proudly hangs like a velvet Elvis painting, confusing, unforgettable, and somehow beautiful in its absurdity.